Imagine the scene. A mile-wide ring of stone, once a garden of fruit and beauty, now a landscape of industrial pits, grinding wheels, and the unceasing thud of hammers in the dark. At its center stands Orthanc, a tower of black rock so smooth it seems riven from the bones of the earth rather than built by hands. Inside sits Saruman the White, a being of the highest order, a wizard whose mind is a laboratory of metal and wheels, and whose voice can ensnare the strongest wills. He has spent years preparing his war, yet when the shepherds of the trees arrive at his gates, this master of lore and dwimmer-craft seems almost helpless. Why didn't Saruman use spells against the Ents? Welcome to Echoes of Middle-earth, and today we are looking at the tactical errors, the physical limitations, and the spiritual decay that led to the ruin of Isengard. To begin our investigation, we have to look at the sheer physicality of an Ent. Treebeard and his kin are not just talking trees, they are earth-born beings, old as the mountains themselves. Pippin describes their eyes as having an enormous well of memory behind them, as if something growing in the ground for endless years had suddenly woken up to consider you. This ancient nature gives them a biological defense that most magic users in Middle-earth would find daunting. Their skin is described as being very thick and tougher than bark. While they can be hurt by arrows, such projectiles are likened to stinging flies or a pincushion. They infuriate the Ents but do not stop them. Most importantly, they cannot be poisoned. Saruman's reliance on chemical warfare and industrial devilry was largely negated by the Ents' natural constitution. One of the primary reasons Saruman failed to use effective counterspells was a catastrophic intelligence failure. As the head of the White Council, Saruman was a master of deep lore and ring lore, but his pride had grown so great that he began to take ill any meddling or any power he didn't understand. In his pursuit of absolute knowledge, rule, and order, he began to view all growing things merely as fuel for his furnaces. Because he viewed the Ents as mere legends or fables that men have made, he left them entirely out of his calculations. As Pippin later noted, Saruman simply did not understand them. When the attack began, there was no plan, and there was no time to make any because the Ents moved with the speed of a bursting flood. But we must address the liquid fire. It is a common misconception that Saruman did nothing at all. When he realized his gates were lying in ruin, torn up by Ent fingers like bread crust, he did attempt to use his precious machinery. From the vents and shafts of the Isengard plain, he unleashed fires and foul fumes, including a spray of some liquid fire. One Ent, Beachbone, was caught in this spray and burned like a torch. However, this didn't stop the assault. It sent the Ents mad with a long, slow wrath that had been brimming over. They roared and boomed until the very stones of Isengard began to crack at the mere noise of them. Here, we see that Saruman's spells were actually industrial weapons, and they only served to hasten his destruction by removing the last of the Ents' patience.
We also have to consider the limitation of Saruman's primary weapon, his voice. The power of Saruman was not typically the casting of fireballs, but the enchantment of his speech. Those who listened unwarily would find all he said to be wise and reasonable, and any who gainsaid him would seem harsh and uncouth to others under the spell. This was the power he used to daunt smaller folk and persuade the wise. But the Ents are a steadier people who keep their minds on things longer than men or even elves. Their language, Old Entish, is unhasty and built on ages of memory. A wizard's persuasive speech, designed to manipulate the hasty hearts of men and hobbits, simply could not take root in the enormous wells of an Ent's mind. Furthermore, Saruman was caught in a trap of his own making. He was so focused on obtaining the One Ring for himself that his eye was turned abroad rather than near at home. He was spying on his messengers and worrying about the heir of Isildur or what the Lord of the Mark might find, and all the while he had forgotten Treebeard. When the Ents struck, Saruman fled in a panic from the gates back into his tower, barely escaping being caught and strangled by Quickbeam. Once inside the Tower of Orthanc, his options were physically limited. While he was safe behind the rock of the tower, which was very smooth and hard, and perhaps possessed an older and stronger wizardry than his own, he was also besieged. He could only look out of his windows at a saucepan of steaming ruin where his furnaces had been quenched by the waters of the Isen.
Is it possible that Saruman's spirit was already diminishing? Gandalf hinted that Saruman's wizardry may have been falling off lately. By forsaking his mission as a messenger of the West and attempting to set himself up as a power in rivalry with Sauron, Saruman had broken the white light of his wisdom. He had traded his staff for iron wheels and his lore for webs of deceit. In Middle-earth, magic is often tied to the spiritual stature of the wielder. As Saruman became more of an industrialist and a traitor, his ability to command the primordial forces of Arda likely waned. He could still trick a king of men with poisoned thought, but he could not stop the bones of the earth from tearing up his home. There is also the matter of the Ents' own magic. Treebeard notes that Ents are stronger than trolls, who were only counterfeits made in mockery of them. When their minds are roused, Ents can split stone like the roots of trees, only far quicker. This isn't just physical strength, it is a manifestation of their role as the thought of Yavanna made manifest. Gandalf describes the attack as a thing which has not happened since the Elder Days, where the forest itself was rising, marching over the hills to war. Against a force that represents the unyielding wrath of the world itself, even a wizard's spells of command are like vain breath.
Ultimately, Saruman didn't use spells against the Ents because he had devolved from a wizard into a technician. He believed that slaves and machines were the true path to power. He had so completely disconnected himself from the living world that he was blindsided by its defense mechanism. By the time he realized that the legends were knocking on his door, he was a wise fool trapped in a black spike of rock, listening to the boomed, trumpeted calls of a people he had deemed too slow to matter. As the Ents dig great pits and trenches to drown Isengard, they prove that the small hands of the world can indeed move the wheels of destiny when the great and the wise falter. If you found this exploration of Saruman's failure and the hidden power of the Onodrim fascinating, make sure to like and subscribe to Echoes of Middle-earth. We will continue to unearth the deeper philosophies and tactical realities that define the Third Age. Until the stars shine again on our meeting, may your heart stay as strong as the roots of the forest, and your path be clear of the shadow of the White Hand.